Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lords of Limited. My name is Ben Warney, and joining me on the line, as always, Mr. Ethan Nanoform. Put some respect on its name, Sentinel Sax. Ethan, the amount of disrespect shown to Nanoform Sentinel in these Pro Tour drafts is absurd. It's inexcusable. Put some respect on its name.
I'm really glad to hear you say that. I was shedding a tear as I watched both of these drafts and the Nanoform Sentinels whipped around the table. Not that it's like anything to write home about. And for folks who are, if we've put Edge of Eternities to bed, this is the 2 and a blue 3/2 that when it becomes tapped, it untaps something else once per turn. I don't know. I do feel like Edge of Eternities, and maybe we'll get into this a little bit when we look at these drafts. I just feel like it was misunderstood in its time.
I agree completely. The drafts are confusing. One of them, I think there's a better path. One, I'm on board fairly with what the pro did, and I think I'm curious to talk to you about it because I think you think both of them were not great.
One certainly more than the other. But yes, I would like to talk to you about these, certainly with our great, hindsight 2020 and having the full scope of things. But and so there are some times where I watch these drafts having already maybe seen some scuttle in the Lords of Limited Discord about like, oh, some of these picks were confusing. We're seeing that the person, like seeing maybe one of the rounds later on and looking at the deck. But I think certainly for one of these, if not both, I watched them live or watched them without any sort of preconceived notions and was still sort of scratching my head a little bit. So we'll get into that. As I told you before we recorded, I'm feeling a little like I'm just a little whiplash because like, yeah, you weren't here last week. I forgot about that part of it. You weren't here last week, but then we recorded Lull. Then I recorded next week's interview for the episode yesterday. And now we're going back to Edge of Eternities. It's a lot of time travel happening here in podcast land.
Yeah, you're whipping around the multiverse. Just like Spider-Man.
Just like Spider-Man. Speaking of Spider-Man, which we're not mostly talking about today, where are you at? Because I confessed to you on Lords Unlimited that, I recorded podcast with Stamp last week on Saturday, and my take was like, I'm enjoying this still, I think. And then by Monday was when I was like, oh, I think I'm done. And I haven't played any drafts since Monday. I did some Final Fantasy drafts that are available on Flashback on Arena. I've been doing a bunch of Vintage Cube drafts for this charity event that's happening. Where are you at with Magic these days? Do you have time for anything? Are you Spider-Manning? What are you doing?
Since I've gotten back from Atlanta, I have had time for zero Magic. I have been dying all week. That's the punishment for leaving school for a day and missing marching band. And it's a busy week for the band. Plus, I was trying to get caught up. I have been absolutely buried. So I've played zero Magic the Gathering since Atlanta, but did play a lot in Atlanta. So,
but no, because after we recorded, no, that was the week prior. Wait, no, you were going to do a draft.
No, that was a week prior.
That was a week prior. All right.
You are lost in the multiverse.
Time traveling all over the place. Okay.
Mine's
so no
starting
Magic
to fracture, folks. Look out for it.
Yeah. I need those. I don't know. I don't know enough about IP to tell you what I need. Infinity Stones. I don't know what I need to get back to my own reality. Okay. But the reality of this episode is that we are going to be looking at the Pro Tour draft.
Do I get to give my opinion on where I'm at with Magic?
You said you have no opinion because you're not playing.
No, I do have opinions. I just haven't played.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
The best kind of opinions.
Theory crafting opinions. No, please, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is that... What I was going to say is that if I were to play Magic right now, which I will be this week, and I'm going to have fall break coming up in a couple weeks, I anticipate playing Spider-Man. I don't feel quite the level of vitriol or whatever that the community has. And I'm also not that many drafts deep. I'm only probably 15 to 20 drafts deep in Spider-Man. And so Spider-Man sounds more fun than Edge to me. I don't think Spider-Man's great. I am still curious to explore Pick 2 a little bit more. I also anticipate playing some Vintage Cube over the coming weeks as we figure out what we're going to do with our show. I am a little sad that LR beat us to the Spider-Man Sunset show punch. Like they went common review, mythic rare review, sunset show. It was a good bit. That was well played by Marshall and Luis.
Saw that.
So yeah, I assume that I keep talking about Spider-Man some, or are we just done?
I don't know. I mean, like I don't know what Marshall and Luis said, but I am of a mind of like, we'll talk about what we're playing, certainly. And I'm happy to do some Spider-Man drafts and touch in on the metagame or whatever, but it doesn't seem like folks are that jazzed about it. And I also, from like feeling, I don't know, a week after our initial impressions from the early access event, not feeling like I had much of an update to say. And like, then we talked about enemy color pair decks. Like, I don't know how much meat on the bone there is, even if I was jazzed to draft it. And I'm also not sure, we haven't looked at the calendar, but I'm not sure how much time we have. You know, if we're doing this episode, if we've already got the next episode locked and loaded, I don't know how much more we have before we're going to be looking at the Avatar set.
Sure. And I'm definitely going to talk some Cube if we're going to talk some Vintage Cube. I am locked and loaded on Vintage Cube, prepped, ready to go.
Great. Maybe we'll do some Vintage Cube action for Lords Unlimited today, because I've been doing lots of Vintage Cube drafting this week. Okay, but we're going to focus up Edge of Eternities Pro Tour drafts. We're going to look at both of these drafts from day 1 and day 2 from the Pro Tour coverage. Before we do that, we'll do a little housekeeping. We'll chat about the Patreon page. Patreon.com/Lords of Limited is where folks can go to give back to the show if they so choose. We've got some great perks over at the Patreon page. One is access to our Discord, which is just an excellent community of like-minded limited individuals. And the other thing is access to our weekly podcast feed, where you get not only access to this episode a day early ad-free, but you get access to our bonus episode of Lords Unlimited that drops every Thursday morning. So if any or all of that sounds of interest to you, if you want to check out the podcast feed for a free week trial, you can do that at patreon.com/Lords of Limited. And we want to welcome our new patrons the first week that they join. So this week we're welcoming Adam and Stardust. Thank you. We really appreciate your support.
Yeah, can't say thank you enough. And speaking of not being able to say thank you enough, this episode is brought to you by FusionGamingOnline.com, your go-to destination for Magic the Gathering and more. Whether you're chasing down that last elusive rare, stocking up for draft night, or turning your extra cards into store credit, Fusion has you covered with great prices, fast shipping, and a huge selection. If you're in Canada, it's a no-brainer. And even if you're elsewhere, you might be surprised how competitive Fusion is on price and speed. Check them out at FusionGamingOnline.com/Lords and let them know we sent you. That's FusionGamingOnline.com/Lords. Great deals, great selection, delivered fast. It's Cube season. CubeCon is coming up. And if you need some cards to fill out a cube, hit up FusionGamingOnline.com. I assume we're going to be talking about Cube some with Alola and Spider-Man. That seems to be the scuttle in the community right now. So if you're thinking about building a cube or tweaking your cube that already exists, hit them up for the singles you need.
You probably haven't, because you said you're not you didn't play Magic this week, but there's Spider-Man cards in Vintage Cube now.
But I've seen the LSV videos. My LSV video is my daily ritual before bed. I watch, fast forward through the matches, see how he did, watch the draft, fast forward through the draft when it gets boring.
What are the Spider-Man, the top cards? Has he picked any Spider-Man cards yet?
I don't think so, no.
Drafts? No.
But he points them out, so I've seen that they're in there. There's that white-blue hybrid card that makes your things come into play tapped. Yeah. Your white, your blue sorcery rare that exiles stuff on either side of the battlefield, that's in there.
Love how that's mine. I've never cast it, never drafted it, but that is
you
mine.
shouted it out in Lords Unlimited.
Okay. Day 1 draft, Ken Yukuhiro, previous Pro Tour winner, sits down to draft Edge of Eternities. Pack on Pick 1 sees the following cards as options. A couple of banger commons: Banishing Light, 2 and a white, exile something. Cryogen Relic, 1 and a blue. So where are you at with the Cryogen Relic, Virus Beetle, and Galactic Wayfarer Life? What's your best? Cryogen Relic, top common for you?
Cryogen Relic and Beetle both ahead of Wayfarer for me. That hasn't shifted since we had that debate on the podcast.
Okay, so yeah, Cryogen Relic was being shouted out by Marshall and Paul on coverage as the best common in the set.
That's because it's got the highest data. It's got the highest game in hand win rate.
You brought up the D word, and not me. I didn't say it. I didn't invoke it. You brought it up. Just want that to be clear for the record. Okay, in this pack, Banishing Light, a Cryogen Relic, Sunstar Expansionist. That's the 1 and a white 2/3 landfall +1/+0, and when it enters, if your opponent has more lands than you get to make a lander. And your rare in the pack is Requiem Monolith. This is 2 and a black for an artifact. Tap it until end of turn. Target creature gains. Whenever this creature is dealt damage, you draw that many cards and lose that much life. That creature's controller may have this artifact deal 1 damage to it. Activate only as a sorcery.
Yeah, you're thrilled if you're Ken and you're looking at this pack. I think you slam Requiem Monolith with next to no discussion, and you feel great. At least I do feel great about starting black, and I feel great about starting with Requiem Monolith.
That's how I felt. You know, as I said, I guess I just said it on Lords Unlimited. Again, truly
You really got to
in
get the mind together. Tighten it up
buddy,
over
it's
there.
it's hard. I recorded with Sam, then I recorded with you, then I recorded with our guests yesterday. I'm trying to figure out who I had what Magic conversations with at what time. I did that testing meeting, air quotes, with J-Maz and his buddy Zach before he went off to the Pro Tour, and we had all the cards out and we're laying them. And so I had already, in my mind, I already knew where Requiem Monolith was. Like, we'd already hashed it out about it being better than, certainly all the commons. And I don't even know, maybe
It's better
probably
than all the uncommons, too. Requiem Monolith is
better
broken.
than Code Cracker Hound and better than
Yes.
Dubious Delicacy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I think. It seemed like Marshall and Paul were slightly surprised to see Ken take Monolith over Relic, but I was not, and I was happy to see it.
Yeah, Monolith is great. No discussion there for me at all.
Okay, pick 2. A lot of bangers. Sunstar Lightsmith is in the pack. That's the 3 and a white 3/3. When you double spell, it gets a counter and you draw a card. Focus Fire, single white, deal X plus 2 to something, where X is the number of creatures and spacecraft you have. Tractor Beam, 2 blue, control magic. Thing stays tapped. In terms of following up with a black card, not much. There's Swarm Color, the 2/4 flyer, Hymn of the Faller, the surveil, lose 1, draw a card, and then you draw a second if Void happened, and Watery Grave, blue-black duel in the pack.
Yeah, this is a clear Tractor Beam. Again, there is no discussion. Tractor Beam is far and away the best card in the pack. And if I am Ken, I am thrilled right now. Requiem Monolith and Tractor Beam is a dream start to a Pro Tour draft.
Yeah, Tractor Beam, Lightsmith is very good too. I agree that Tractor Beam is the best card in the pack.
Yeah, Lightsmith is good. It's not as good as Tractor Beam. You've had two picks for me with no discussion. There's been no thought, no agency, no weird decisions to make, no considerations, no what ifs. You take Monolith, you take Tractor Beam.
And lucky for us as backseat podcasters, Ken has also made the same picks. So we get to be in agreement and get to feel as smart as a Pro Tour winner.
That is going to rapidly go downhill coming up soon.
It may go rapidly downhill as quickly as pick 3, where we see the following cards. And the power level also drops off a cliff in this pack. He sees a Pinnacle Killship, 7-mana vehicle that deals 10 vehicles. Quarter on the swear jar. 7. I have found myself, now that I've been playing Vintage Cube on stream this week with vehicles, and now I say station about vehicles. It's all whacked. It's all out of whack. Okay. The 7-mana spacecraft deals 10 on ETB. Diplomatic Relations, the 2 and a green +1/+0 Vigi punch spell. Mechanozoa, the 6-mana 5/5 with warp that taps something with a stun counter. Uncommons in the pack, there's a Hilderblade, the single black, equip cost of 4 to give something +3/+1, and on end step it equips for free if Void happened. And Broodguard Elite, the XGG +1/+1 counter creature that has warp, and then when it leaves, it dumps its counters somewhere else.
Yeah, I think we should go ahead and say that Ken selected Hilderblade, which is borderline insane to me out of these options. Yeah, I don't think that
not.
I think it is the worst of the 5 options.
I think it's the worst of the 5 options, but to use a phrase that I think you often use when I'm like, what do you want to take out of this terrible pack? You would say, I don't care. You hand me any card out of this pack and it doesn't matter.
Sure, except there's a better card in your colors in Mechanozoa.
Yes. But does this pick matter to you in that way? Do you want to zoom in on this? Because I also think there's a real argument. Shouldn't you just take what the best card is, which is Broodguard Elite, or take Pinnacle Killship?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What is the best card? I think the best card is probably Diplomatic Relations.
I think it's Broodguard Elite, personally.
In a PT draft, though, wouldn't you want to lock up a piece of removal? Broodguard Elite is a big dumb thing, ultimately.
Sure. Yeah, big dumb thing that leads to other big dumb things.
That leads to other big dumb things. Sure. But let's talk about this format.
Okay.
People are going to have looked at the data. Do you really want to move into green for Broodguard Elite or Diplomatic Relations? I don't. I also don't. So that's why those are off the table for me. I do think there's a clear pick here in either Pinnacle Killship or Mechanozoa. Either one
See,
of those I think is defensible.
the only thing that I want to say, and I didn't do any sort of like in pod drafts for this format like I would have if I was prepping for the PT. So I don't know, but I feel like green mediums or like big dumb green cards like the 4/4 trample landfall 4-drop, like cards that I think normally you don't mess with. I think that kind of a deck is probably a bit more real in high stakes pods where people know what's up. And so I'm not as averse to drafting green mediums at this table as I might be like on Arena, if that makes sense. And so I do have eyes for Broodguard Elite. I really don't want to take Mechanizoa pick 3. I don't want to take any of these cards pick 3, I guess.
Sure. I agree that this pick largely doesn't matter, except you do have to make a choice. And there's 5
Mm-hmm.
options. And I think literally the worst of the 5 options was chosen. Also, like, you could say you're getting deeper into black, but you have 2 banger cards right now in Monolith and Tractor Beam, both of which are at their best in a deck that wants the game to go long. Hilderblade wants the game to go short. Like,
Yeah.
it's at total odds with your other 2 cards when any of the other 4 of the 5 options here either get you feelers into green, great, because it's a throwaway pick anyway, or can solidify you with a top end card in Pinnacle Killship that you may play, may not, but blue black decks are great at stationing up vehicles quickly, and Mechanizoa is good in a blue black deck.
Yeah.
I mean, not like something you're thrilled to play, but it is totally fine, not embarrassing.
Yeah, I think so. And probably like cards like that we often think of as replacement level probably get bumped a little bit up in Pro Tour drafts because you're just not going to see great cards late, like almost ever, or early, as the case is here. Pick 3. So yes, Ken did select Hilderblade, and we're not going to agree on what to take probably, but we could say we could took Mechanizoa out of that pack. Pick 4. There's a Germinating Worm for the big dumb green mediums, the 5/5 with warp, and when it enters, you gain 2. There's a Starbreach Whale, the 3/5 for 5 in blue that enters and surveils 2 and has warp. There's Nanoform Sentinel, the first of many Nanoform Sentinels that will not be selected, the 3/2 that untaps things. Embrace Oblivion, single black as an additional cost to cast it, sack something to kill a creature or spacecraft, and another Hymn of the Faller. What do you like or extremely not like out of this pack?
I extremely don't like Ken's pick of Starbreach Whale, which is
Mm-hmm.
what he selects. And all this to be said that Ken Yukuhiro is a much better Magic player. The usual disclaimers: much better Magic players than we are on the
So
PT, etc.
can we do this now? Can we
Sure.
can we have this talk now? Which is
Yeah.
that I know this is, I'm just like inviting being flamed in the comments, but I guess whatever, bring it on. Flame on, as the Human Torch says. We do this disclaimer almost every time we look at Pro Tour drafts.
Sure. Yeah.
It is rare that I watch a featured Pro Tour draft and feel like I'm with you pick for pick. Like most of the time, I'm left scratching my head, being like, what happened here?
Yeah, I mean, they probably don't draft as much as we do. But the weird thing is, like, Ken's Starbreach Whale pick makes sense to me in that Starbreach Whale then does go with Hilderblade. Like, if you're Ken, right? Like, you can warp it to put Hilderblade on something because you've warped something that turn. But that's like
Sure.
2 bad tastes that taste bad together when you
Yes.
could pick either Embrace Oblivion here as a removal spell that you could then like tractor beam something and then throw away the thing that you tractor beamed to kill something else,
Sure.
or an even better pick in my opinion, Nanoform Sentinel goes way up once you have tractor beam, because then you can
Mm-hmm.
untap the thing that you stole and actually use it.
Yep. Yeah. I think I would take Embrace Oblivion. I just think it's the best card here. And especially if you had taken Hilderblade, I would take give a little tiebreaker to a black card. I would hope that I don't have to take Nanoform Sentinels pick 4, but again, maybe in these more competitive pods, it's a card that doesn't go super late.
But it's the card, like, I would take Nanoform Sentinel here. But I wouldn't fault
Really?
somebody for taking Embrace Oblivion. But I
Oh,
think
okay.
I'm like very much of the draft the card you want for your deck, especially in a high stakes draft where you don't know what's going to wheel or people have better
Yeah.
card evals. I think you really want Nanoform Sentinel to go with Tractor Beam. And I think you haven't seen any black cards yet since first picking Requiem Monolith. You have seen
That's
a
also
blue
true.
card in Tractor Beam. You got past whatever Mechanozoa. Now there's Nanoform Sentinel here. Like there's not been any black, but I think it's close between those two. Wouldn't fault anybody for taking Embrace Oblivion.
Yeah. He took Starbreach Whale. Pick 5 is a breath of fresh air. There's a Focus Fire, the single white removal, Divert Disaster, the counter spell, Close Encounter, the uncommon punch spell from either a creature in play or a creature that's been warped. But a really awesome pick 5 Ilvoy Infiltrator here, the 3 mana 1/3 in blue that if you've double spelled is unblockable, and when it connects to your opponent, you draw a card.
Yeah, card is clearly the best card in the pack, and in your colors, happy to snap it up here.
Yeah, and I would think, if I'm seeing get past a Tractor Beam, pick 2. That's like Signal adjacent, maybe. There's rares you would take over it, but it's up there. And then an Infiltrator pick 5 is really nice to see. Pick 6, there is a Divert Disaster. That's the 1 and a blue counter spell that if they can pay 2, they get a lander, or you get a lander rather. Unravel is the 1 blue, so cancel, and if the thing was essentially if it was warped, you draw a card. Exosuit Savior, the 2 and a white 2/2 flyer, can pick something up when it enters, and Dockworker Drone, the 1 and a white 2/2 artifact, or sorry, it's a 1/1 artifact that comes with a counter, and when it dies, it dumps its counter somewhere else.
Yeah, this is a harder pick here because the pack is so bad. I would lean towards just solidifying myself in blue. Whichever
Yes.
of the 2 counter spells you like better, Divert Disaster or Unravel. I think at the PT, I would lean Unravel because I would assume my opponents are going to be capable and good at playing around Divert Disaster. So I think I would just want a hard counter. But I don't feel great about what I'm picking here. I don't think there is a real consideration to any card that you pick here, and I would hope to put none of them in my final deck.
Yeah. The best card in this pack, in my mind, is Exosuit Savior, the 2 and a white 2/2 flyer. Like, if we're doing that sort of like, just take the best card.
Sure, but you don't want to get into white for Exosuit Savior.
I totally agree. But Ken wants to get into white for Dockworker Drone, and I don't even understand. Like, if you watch this on coverage, it looks like a goof grab. He's like got the blue cards in front, and then take like Dockworker Drone is like 3rd or 4th in the pack, and then he just like when they're like draft, he just like grabs that. And I was like, did you mess this up? Like, why are you taking
because he continues to go down white. He knows he picked a white card.
It's it's a very curious pick to me. I guess again, ultimately doesn't matter, but if it doesn't matter,
saw the focused fire in the previous pack. You might be reading that white's open here. I mean, that's a possible read to make, but again, like with Edge of Eternities, to me, it's about ceilings, floors, like gaps in power level. Requiem Monolith dwarfs in power level anything else you've seen so far.
Well,
so I'm willing to fight for black for Requiem Monolith,
but you can't yet.
But I can get deeper into blue, which lets me like keep the dream of that Requiem Monolith alive. Not saying that it's definitely going to come to fruition, but I'm going to be doing everything I can to possibly put Requiem Monolith in my deck, which means heavy blue, which means when given the opportunity, I'm going to get deeper into blue.
I agree. So Ken takes his first white card here. Pick 7, there is a Temporal Intervention, as I think the only black card. That's the 2 and a black, like Thoughtseize, and costs 2 less to cast if Void happened. Flight Deck Coordinator, the 2 and a white 3/3, has the like 2 things tapped, end step, gain 2 life. Drix Fatemaker is the 3 and a green 3/2, puts a counter on something. Things with counters have trample, and it has warp. And then uncommon in the pack, good blue card in my mind, Uthros Scanship, the 4 mana 4/4 spacecraft with Station 8, that when it enters, you draw 2, discard 1.
Yeah, I think Uthros Scanship is a clear best card in the pack here, and we are blue. And I am shocked that Ken didn't select it here.
Yeah, he took Flight Deck Coordinator. And this is his only... He takes this little 2-card dip into white and then bounces back.
But you give up so much. You're sending worse signals. You have less optionality for your deck. Scanship would go great with the Nanoform Sentinel that we could have picked earlier. the Mechanozoa we could have picked to warp out to then station up the Uthro scan ship. Like, blue wants to play with those type of cards.
I agree. Yeah. The pick 6 I don't care about, like Divert Disaster and Unravel. Yes, you can take them as blue cards. You're hoping to not play them. Uthro Scanship I like. Like I don't think it's better than that Holy Trinity of commons. I think it's worse than those.
Sure, yeah.
But it's a good card.
It's like
Pick
a C
7.
plus.
It's like a C
Yeah,
plus.
yeah. Pick 7 is late for that in a Pro Tour draft, I would think.
We talked about this in the or I said this in our 50 takes episode, and I sort of stand by it, is that I do think like that every deck wants at least one spacecraft in this
Yes.
format. Like I think it is a thing that you want to. It sounds weird, but you do want to be able to have something to dump your untapped creature's power into. Like, assuming it also like has an ETB, like something like Scanship or something like Pinnacle Killship. But ultimately, by the end of the draft, if you don't have a single spacecraft you can put in your deck, I think you're unhappy. And when you get the opportunity here to just be like, oh, I can take Scanship for free, plus it's a good one, plus it's in my color, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I also do not get it.
Pick 8, another Nanoform Sentinel, a Hull Carver. That's the single black 1/1 Death Touch artifact. And Oreplate Pangolin, just to shout out another card in the pack, the one in red 2/2 artifact that can grow every time an artifact enters.
This was where I really felt the Nanoform Sentinel disrespect. Like, I wanted to take it pick 4. There's here pick 8. And Paul on coverage says, Paul Cheon says, best card in the pack is a Hull Carver when we have a Tractor Beam. Like, this not picking Nanoform Sentinel here is inexcusable, in my opinion.
Especially because, I mean, you could make a case that that all of these cards are filler. Like, Hull Carver is filler. It's not a good card. You can't ever, like, one of the problems that black decks have in my mind is that its creatures are small. But sometimes you do want to beat down, right? You're turning your Beamsaw Prospector sideways. You're turning your Comet Crawler sideways and sacking a nutrient block. So it's a 4/3. Sometimes you're the beatdown. Hull Carver can never participate in that plan.
I mean, it can 1 damage at a time.
It's not a great look.
Yeah, I was very sad to see Nanoform Sentinel not picked nor even really mentioned here in tandem with the Tractor Beam.
Yeah.
Or the Uthro Scanship that could have been.
Right, so, I mean, you could have just been basically mono blue.
You could have been mono blue through the first 8 picks, which would have been awesome.
Yeah. So to fast forward here, pick 9 on the wheel, Ken gets a Lightless Evangel over a Mechanozoa. That's the one in a black 2/2 that grows every time you sacrifice something. A Hymn of the Faller, a Mechan Shieldmate, a Cloud Sculpt Technician. So some extremely medium blue and black cards, but they are blue and black cards. And that is ultimately, I think he stops his dance in other colors and really locks into blue-black for the rest of the draft, which I don't hate.
Sure. I also don't hate, but pack 2, pick 1 is also baffling to me. So if you're Ken at the end of pack 1, where do you think you're at?
Oh my gosh, with his picks. Where do I think I think I'm blue-black.
You have to be blue, and then like maybe you're black or white, but you have to be blue. Mm-hmm. And then pack 2, pick 1, he's basically got the choice of Embrace Oblivion or Gigastorm Titan. And Gigastorm Titan is way better than Embrace Oblivion.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get the idea
and in the color you are.
Right. Gigastorm Titan being the 5 mana 4/4 in blue that costs 3 less to cast if it's your second spell. Or if you've cast something that turn, I should say. But I think that, you could make a case for Embrace Oblivion as removal, and you need to lock up removal. It's 0-sum in pod play, etc. But what are you sacrificing? You have
exactly.
And it's not like, I guess if you're in black,
sacrifice your Hilderblade that we drafted pick 3, or you're going to sacrifice.
Right. I mean, if black is open, you will see stuff. Like you'll at least get Beamsaw Prospectors, if not Virus Beetles, if not Nutrient Blocks, whatever. But you don't have them now.
We have no reason to believe that black's going to be open, though. I mean, we could
That's
kind
also
of
true.
expect it in pack 2, but I don't think we have reason to believe it's going to be open in pack 3.
I agree. So yeah, you can take Gigastorm Titan, and then that leaves you outs to potentially not to open up a second color that isn't black. Though you really want to play Requiem Monolith if possible.
But also, you've read in pack 1, like, I think for pack 3, if I'm Ken, I would expect white to flow more than black. And I think by
Mm-hmm.
taking Gigastorm Titan here, you do still leave yourself the outs to be blue-white. Would I rather be blue-black? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you leave yourself outs to be blue-white.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. The rest, I mean, this pack I think is largely I'm good with. I don't have. It's not that I feel like I would have ended up in a like wildly different spot, but I would have had some different cards in my deck for sure.
You would have had a lot. Like, my deck would have looked, I think, significantly
I
different. So
guess
Ken ended up in a blue-black deck.
because
I
you have
also would
two.
have ended up
You
in
have
blue-black, but my deck would have been, I think, significantly better than Ken's.
But yeah, and that's because you're saying like you've got even out of just pack one, you've got double Nanoform Sentinel and Uthro Scanship, which is just like you have like a plan when you have that as a package of things.
Well, and also you're more artifacty, and then all of a sudden this Monoist Circuit Feeder that is floating
Mm,
around in pack 3, which is an amazing card. That's the 4 black 4 flyer. Starts to look really good, and then you can take that instead of a Cryo Shatter that he took pack 3 pick 2. Like,
yeah,
to me, I feel like blue black control looks a certain way, and Ken just missed the opportunity to pick up a lot of the key, not key good cards for blue and black, but the key cards that just like make the deck tick at common and uncommon. And then as a result of picking, in my opinion, incorrectly in those spots, like, just ends up with a very atypical looking blue black deck that doesn't have a very clear plan.
yeah, yeah. And we'll throw up the deck pick on YouTube for folks wondering. But yeah, it's not. I mean, a lot of cards. It's good cards, but cards you would just hope to not be playing, like double Starbreach Whale, Ilvoy Galeblade, the Hilder Blade, double Ilvoy Operative, the 2-mana 2/1 that grows when you double spell, like that I would probably hope to not touch with a 10-foot pole.
Well, and also he has lots of cards that die to his Requiem Monolith. He's got Hull Carver, Gale Blade, Double
Yeah.
Operative. Like, he didn't even like draft such that his Requiem Monolith is going to be very good for him.
Yeah. Yep. So the Stamir deck did unfortunately go 1-2. Which yeah, it's tough. Like you end up in the same color pair, I think, but a very different looking deck for sure.
Yeah, I would have ended up blue black artifact control with several Gigastorm Titans, and yeah, I would have liked my deck quite a bit. I think from Ken's seat, and looking at Ken's deck, I do not like the deck that I see.
Yeah.
All right, that takes us on to day 2 draft. Shuhei Nakamura sitting at 8-0, ran the
Yeah.
tables on day 1 of the PT. You love to see it. And sits down for his pack 1 pick 1, where he sees the following cards as options. At common, there's a depressurize. That's the 1 in a black, -3/-0, and then destroyed if the creature's power is below 0. There's Banishing Light, 2 and a white for the enchantment, the O-Ring effect. There's Broodguard Elite, the green X spell that makes an XX with +1/+1 counters on it equal to X that you can warp. There's Frenzied Baloth as one of 2 rares in the pack. That's the green 3/2 trample haste keyword soup salad. And the other rare in the pack is Diadrin Synthesis Amalgam. That's green-white X for a 0/1 with trample. Enters with a number of +1/+1 counters on equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. And whenever you attack, you can remove a +1/+1 counter from each of 2 creatures you control. If you do, draw a card and make a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token.
This is a really, I think it's kind of interesting. Like coming off of my little meeting for the PT prep, like JMAZ is pretty high on Diadrin. So if I was going by that pick order, I would take Diadrin here clearly. I think left to my own devices, it's a real conversation for me between Diadrin and Banishing Light of like, it's only one. Like I really don't want to take gold cards early if I can help it. Green white is not a color pair I'm thrilled to get into. Diadrin is very good. You could make a case that it's single pipped and it's splashable, but like splashable in this format isn't a guarantee, and Diadrin outside of green white is not guaranteed to be anything than keyword big dumb, because if you don't have counters elsewhere, you're not going to get the full potential of the card. I like taking Diadrin here, but I wonder if, on a random Tuesday I might just take a Banishing Light.
I am with you. If you made me choose right now today at the PT, I would take Banishing Light because I think they're close enough in power level for me that I would want the flexibility that Banishing Light provides. And
Yeah.
I don't love the idea of starting with a green, white, gold card and then getting pushed off either green or white makes it kind of awkward to play when I don't like it that much. Where I'm at with Diadrin is I like it. I think it's a very good card if you're green, white. In my soul, I don't want to fight for it. And I think if in my soul I'm not ready to fight for it, I shouldn't be pack one, pick oneing it.
I want to throw a handful of gold uncommons at you in place of Diadrin here to
Okay.
just get a sense of how much you're valuing not being two colors from pick one.
Sure.
Interceptor Mechan, the 2 black-red Gravedigger.
I would
That's
take
in this
Banishing
pack.
Light. I would take Banishing Light.
How about Station Monitor, the 1 in a blue 2/2 that when you double spell makes a 1/1?
I would take Banishing Light.
And how about Biomechan Engineer, the green blue
Ooh.
uncommon?
That one's closer. I would still take Banishing Light. I want to be one color.
Okay, so for me, I'm like the one I feel like I'm definitely taking is Biomechan Engineer. And then the other two, I'm like, it's close. But honestly, those other 2 cards, I think I have them ahead of Diadrin in the sort of like, I don't know, those are color pairs I like a lot more. And at least like Interceptor Mechan, you could splash in some sort of like, I don't know, Jun Soup or whatever. Yeah, it's close. I don't hate, like, I'm not mad about the Diadrin pick that Shuhei makes. Like, I think it's close, as
I agree.
evidenced by
Yeah,
our
no
discussion.
fault here at all. Like totally on board with Shuhei taking Diadrin. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, that takes us on to pack 1, pick 2 with a Diadrin in the pile. You see the following cards as options. There's a Virus Beetle, 1 in a black for the 1/1. Each opponent discards a card. There's a Wormwall Sweeper, the 2 mana spacecraft that has a station cost of 4, and when it ETBs, you surveil 2, and it's a 2/2 flyer. There's Void Forge Titan, that's the 4 in a black 5/4, where at the end of your turn, if something left the battlefield or something was warped, you draw a card and lose a life. There's Cut Propulsion, that's the red removal spell at instant speed, where a creature deals damage to itself equal to its power, and if it's a flyer, it deals double damage to itself. And there's also Uthros, Titanic God Core, which is the Tolarian Academy mythic rare variant land.
Okay, I want to ask you about the station lands, because I know I think we like them, but where, again, I'm just curious. I wish you were at this little limited testing meeting we had. Where do those lands end up for you? And we can even just put it on the spectrum of, if you want to think about the Holy Trinity of commons, if they're better or worse.
Below the Holy Trinity of commons.
This one is, the blue one is.
Yes.
But
The blue one's one of the ones I like the best. The red one is probably the best of the bunch, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the white one's also sick. These lands are so cool.
The red and white ones, I think, are clearly, like, definitely better than all the commons in my mind.
Yeah, I'm on board for that.
Still probably taking some number of uncommons over them. But yeah, I've stationed up the blue one. I've used its mana. Like,
I mean, if this were a random draft on Arena, I also like Uthros Titanic Godcore ahead of Virus Beetle because it's way more fun. But at the PT, I think Uthros is behind the Holy Trinity of Commons for sure.
Okay, so this pack, there's not a great card to follow up Diadrin. Like, you did not read out a single green or white card from this pack.
No, I did not. So I would be expecting to pick the best card in the pack, which is either Virus Beetle or Cut Propulsion. I would land on Virus Beetle.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Virus Beetle. What did Shuhei take?
Shuhei takes Wormwall Sweeper here, which is a bit of a curveball, and even through Marshall and Paul for a loop in the booth.
Yeah, I wonder what the rules are for them. Like, I just wonder, like, if they can't be like, this is crazy. This is a bad pick. Like,
that's what you and I would be doing in the booth, which is why we're not in the booth. What is happening here? This is
what?
insane.
This is, yeah.
Tighten up the ship, Shuhei.
Well, I'll say that when I was watching this, because I know this was one of the ones that I was watching live, so didn't have any preconceived notions about the draft. When he picked Wormwall Sweeper, and of course, being the player that he is and being an 8-0, I was like, this dude's locked in. I was like, I'm about to learn something. Like, this is someone who has an opinion about what they want to do with the format, is what this pick said to me. By like Wormwall Sweeper, I think for as far as I'm concerned, it's largely considered filler. Like, probably even barely captures the category of, like, for me, that sort of, you want to play at least one spacecraft in your deck. I'm like, I don't think you want it to be Wormwall Sweeper, though.
I agree.
Because it's so small ball and doesn't really do much. But so I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to learn something here. This is like, he either doesn't want to be black. That's why he's not taking Virus Beetle, or he wants to delay the decision, or whatever. I don't know. Or he really values Diadrin. But I'm going to learn something from this pick. That didn't ultimately end up being how I felt about the draft as a whole, but I was curious about this as a pick.
So can I sell you one thing I thought here? And I do largely like Shuhei's draft here. I feel like you set me up to expect disastrous things from this draft. And I like generally a lot of Shuhei's picks. This one is questionable, I think. But off the heels of Spider-Man and pick 2 and putting your neighbor in a good thing, is there any thought to, I just want to send really clear signals? Like, I've got this green, white, gold card. I want to stake my claim to it. I want to send great signals to my neighbors. So I'm going to take this Wormwall Sweeper and ship them the black and the red, and they're going to hook me up with the green and the white in pack 2. Is there any thought to that?
I don't think so. I mean, the only thing I'm basing this off of is, like, when we used to do our team drafts with the limited resources guys, like, I feel like there were multiple drafts in a row I tripped myself up, like, really trying to be like, I'm putting Marshall into this deck. And then we'd end the draft and Marshall would be doing something completely different. And
Yeah.
that is a table where every draft I knew these are good players. Like, I'm passing to good players. I'm being passed to by good players. And I'm sure that's the same thing at the top table at a PT, if not more so. And I just think, like, you don't know what people are going to take.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, I would take Virus Beetle here.
Because what if the person passing to Shuhei was like, well, Shuhei's definitely going to take Virus Beetle out of this pack because it's the clear second best card out of whatever I'm taking.
You got to take the best cards in the pack this early. Yeah, I think Virus Beetle or Cut Propulsion I wouldn't quibble with, really. If that were selected, Wormwall Sweeper is a bit of a shocker, but that is what Shuhei takes. So we now have a Diadrin and a Wormwall Sweeper. Pack 1, pick 3, you see the following cards as options. This is by far the best pack he has seen already. Pick 3. Commons, there's Cryogen Relic, Galactic Wayfarer, and Banishing Light. Not quite the Holy Trinity, but close to the Holy Trinity. And at uncommon, there's a Sunstar Lightsmith. That's the 3 and white 3/3 that wants you to double spell to draw cards. And Interceptor Mechan, the black, red, gold uncommon.
Yeah, I mean, got some power here. It's curious to see between Banishing Light and Wayfarer what, like, I don't know what the pick would be. I mean, my pick order, I think, says that I'm supposed to take Wayfarer here. Lightsmith versus Banishing Light is tough too.
I would take Banishing Light over Lightsmith here. Banishing Light just locks up a card that's always going to be great for you. Sunstar Lightsmith, some stuff has to happen for that card to be really excellent.
Sure.
And getting into green for something like Galactic Wayfarer pick 3 is scarier to me than just locking up another copy of Banishing Light. The argument to be made for Galactic Wayfarer is that it makes it easier to splash Diadrin, but white seems like it's flowing here too.
Well, we're making a lot of assumptions, and it's been 3 picks. Like, white is flowing is a sort of bold statement to make when we're in pick 3. But there are 2 good white cards in this pack. I agree. Certainly, if we're going the route of taking Banishing Light first, Galactic Wayfarer is not in the conversation. But having Diadrin here, like, Galactic Wayfarer is a better card than Banishing Light.
I think they're comparable.
Banishing Light's not in the Holy Trinity. I mean, it's like it's in the, like, just the tier below, but it's not the best. Not in the conversation for best common in the set.
But there's a world where you want removal also. Like, you
Yes.
need to be able to interact. Like, at the Pro Tour, I think
Yeah.
the stuff
Removal
sort of
goes
shifts
up.
around a little bit. Like, Banishing Light's equal to Galactic Wayfarer here for me. And
Okay.
but for the purposes of the draft, I don't think it particularly matters which one you would pick.
Sure. Yeah. And he lands on Banishing Light, and I think that's extremely reasonable. The Lightsmith would have been tempting to me because it's got the counter stuff, and so does Diadrin, but I think you're ultimately right about wanting to lock up removal.
So that takes us on to pack 1, pick 4, with a Diadrin, a Wormhole Sweeper, and a Banishing Light, where we see the following cards as options. There's Auxiliary Boosters, which is the Mega 2/2 equipment that gives it +1/+2 in flying that you can then re-equip. There's a couple black commons in Comet Crawler, the 2/3 lifelink, and Swarm Color, the 2/4 flyer. There's another mythic rare land in Evendo Waking Haven. That's the green one. That's a Gaia's Cradle variant. And then Plasma Bolt as red, deal 2 damage, or if you voided, deal 3 damage. This got a lot of love from Paul and Marshall in the coverage booth, which was surprising to me. I generally think of Plasma Bolt as not a card in this format.
I think we've talked about this. I think Plasma Bolt is better than Bombardment for me. I ultimately agree it's mostly not a card. I think like your red decks want one.
Sure.
Of these.
You think it's
But
better than Bombardment?
yeah, we've talked about this because I there was a brief moment where I like wanted to screenshot every time someone like bombardmented 3-drop and just to like send it to you and be like, man, I got savaged again by this removal
Do
spell.
it. You should do it.
But like it has such a narrow window. Like it kills a 3-drop or a 4-drop. And like Plasma Bolt shores up early game, Orbital Plunge kills anything and gets you a lander. And I think Bombardment is largely like just
lost in the middle.
Yeah.
I disagree, but we'll agree to disagree.
Here, I think this pick ultimately doesn't matter. Auxiliary Boosters gets you deeper into white. If you have Virus Beetle, I kind of like taking one of the 2 black cards more because they kind of work well together. I think this pick ultimately doesn't matter. Certainly, if you don't have Virus Beetle, you just take boosters here.
Yes, and if you have Virus Beetle, I agree you take one of the black cards, but ultimately that still doesn't put you any deeper into black.
No.
Yeah. So Shuhei takes Auxiliary Boosters here and is shoring himself up into white, and we head on to pack 1, pick 5, where you see the following cards as options. At common, there's an Ice Cave Crasher, the 3G 4/4 trample with landfall. There's a Zookeeper Mechan, the 1 in a red 1/3 that taps to add red, and then can pay 7 mana to give something +4/+0. There's Intrepid Tenderfoot, the 1 in a green 2/2 that can put a counter on itself for 3 mana. And then there's Lash Whip Predator, the 4 GG 5/7 reach that costs 2 less to cast if your opponent has 3 or more creatures on the battlefield. And also worth noting, literal 0 black cards or blue cards in this pack.
Okay. So I guess feeling good about not taking the Virus Beetle at that point.
No, but that doesn't mean you still should have taken the Virus Beetle.
No, I agree. But then in hindsight, you get to feel good about it.
I guess. I still don't feel good about making wrong picks.
Yeah. This pick, I think Lash Whip Predator is the best card in this pack.
That is also my feeling, but the weird thing to me, so Shuhei takes Zookeeper Mechan here, we should state, so that for the purposes of discussion. So, and I like dipping into red, sort of, except if you want to make picks like this, where you're taking Zookeeper Mechan over Lash Whip Predator, Ice Cape Crasher, Intrepid Tenderfoot, you're not supposed to take Diadrin. Pack 1, pick 1. That would be the argument I would make. Like, if you're taking Diadrin, pack 1, pick 1, you're signing up to take, like, chonky green donkers over Zookeeper Mechans. Like, you don't get to bob and weave. Like, if you want to bob and weave, you got to take Banishing Light, pack 1, pick 1, so that you leave yourself room to bob and weave.
I agree. And you can't take Wormhole Sweeper second over Cut Propulsion if you want to take Zookeeper Mechan fifth.
Yeah.
So this pick I found pretty confusing. And you've like these are the green mediums, and Lash Whip Predator is medium plus for sure. But like Ice Cave Crasher, Intrepid Tenderfoot, I think a deck like full of these like just sort of on rate, slightly above rate cards, certainly at the PG level, it's gonna be good some amount of the time. And like if you don't get a clear open lane, if you don't get really good cards or whatever, like that is a real deck that is available to you. And Last Red Predator is just great. It's like not hard for it to be a 4-mana 5/7, and it's hard for like basically non-black or white decks to kill it because it's out
I
of
just,
range of plunge. Like,
yeah, I just don't see the world where the draft goes in a direction where you end up putting Zookeeper Mechan in your deck from here. Like, it would be very hard. Green would have to be completely cut, and red would
you're
have to flow super hard for you to pivot off. And even then, I don't know if it's worth it.
right. You're
But
signing up to draft red white at that point, which is arguably the worst deck in the format. And I like red white, but I'd be scared to be trying
sure,
to draft that at the Pro
like
Tour.
if I were Shuhei and I saw this pack with Predator, Tenderfoot, Ice Cape Crasher, I would be relieved to
Yeah,
see 3 green medium cards in the pack, and I'd be like, heck yeah, I'm taking one of these green cards. Like, this would not make me feel the need to abandon ship for Zookeeper Mechan, despite thinking the Zookeeper Mechan is a good card.
right. A good card and arguably the second best red common behind plunge. Like, it's really good. It's one of the most important cards for the red ramp decks.
Yeah, but I would be with you. I was expecting a Lash Whip Predator pick here, but you could give me any of these 3 green cards ahead of Zookeeper Mechan, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm on board with that pick.
Yeah. And I think that your point largely, I like that it stems back to, if you want to take Mechan here, taking it's not, it's
Like, there's
antithetical to
cognitive
taking
dissonance in how you're
Yeah.
drafting, right?
Yeah.
Like, either you're taking Diadrin and you're like, okay, I'm going to try hard to play this card. That's why I said I didn't want to pack one, pick one it, because in my soul, I didn't want to fight for it. And it also feels like Shuhei feels that way too.
Yes. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
So you take Zookeeper Mechan here if you're Shuhei. So we now have Diadrin, Sweeper, Banishing Light, Boosters, and Zookeeper Mechan. Moving on to pack 1, pick 6. See the following cards as options. There's a Thawbringer, 2 and a green for a 4/2. When it enters or dies, you surveil 1. There's a Fungal Colossus, the 6 and a green 5/5 that's cheaper for each different type of land you control. Or is it 7 and a green?
No, it's 6 and a green.
6 and a green. And then Exosuit Savior, 2 and a white for the 2/2 flyer. That when it enters, you can pick something up if you want to. A boatload of red cards in the pack, but nothing very good. And no blue or black cards again in a row.
Sort of red's problem in this format is a lot of red cards, not a lot of good red cards. Yeah, I would be on the green medium train again and take Thawbringer myself.
I would also be on the green medium train and taking Thawbringer here. Shuhei takes Exosuit Saber, which I don't think is crazy after the Zookeeper Mechan pick, because you're
Correct.
potentially looking at
Abandoning
ship into red white. Like, that makes sense to me after taking the Zookeeper Mechan. Just picking the Zookeeper Mechan itself didn't make sense to me. But
Yes.
assuming we had stayed on the green mediums plan, I think green mediums plus Thawbringer is still a better path. If you're wanting to leave red white as an option, Exosuit Savior makes sense here, which is what Shuhei selects. Moving on to pack 1, pick 7. This is where stuff starts to largely settle in here. Pick 7 gets a Drix Fatemaker, which is the 3/2 +1/+1 counter creature that you can warp over a Sammy's Curiosity. And then worth noting here, there's Stone Zero red cards in this pack, which is odd after how many red cards there were in the previous pack. But we know in the Play Booster era that collation's not always even.
Mm-hmm.
Pick 8, you pick up an Ice Cave Crasher. That's the 4/4 trample over some medium blue cards. Pick 9. This pick stood out to me as also a
Yeah.
little odd. So pick 9 on the wheel. You wheel Broodguard Elite, which feels great. There's still a Seam Rip in the pack, which is the single white exile a non-land permanent mana value 2 or less. What?
That card doesn't exist. People keep talking about that card like it's a sideboard card. Seam Rip is not a card.
I disagree.
It's not
It kills
card.
a 2-drop.
No way. Seam Rip is like you've never cast a Seam Rip in your life. This is
I
not true.
have.
This is revisionist history.
But no, I like Seam Rip.
No,
I mean, I don't like it, but we're texting, we're talking.
Okay, sorry. Okay, and what else is in this pack?
There's also a dual send technique, which is the trick that gives something double strike, and if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, you draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
And so Shuei's curve is a bit less than ideal, shall we say?
Hefty.
hefty, large. So I was honestly expecting a Seam Rip pick here, and if not Seam Rip, then the Broodguard Elite.
Seam Rip is terrible. It's a terrible card.
Terrible card.
I can't believe you're saying I was expecting him to take Seam Rip, but I am shocked that he doesn't take Broodguard Elite.
Yeah, Broodguard Elite is a big boy, and I think wheeling it is a sign that green is open.
Yeah.
Also, there's several times here later in the draft as well. Like, we took this Diadrin, pack 1, pick 1. I guess I didn't expect him to take Seam Rip. I thought it was maybe in consideration. I would have, to be clear, I would take Broodguard.
Lucky for you, he gets a main deck Seam Rip, pick 11, so not to worry.
Stop. But, like, the Broodguard Elite goes so well with the Diadrin here. Like, there's several times he has the chance to pick +1/+1 counters cards and doesn't after pack 1, pick 1ing this Diadrin. And Diadrin is not that good if you don't have a +1/+1 counters theme.
Correct. Well, and he just picked up a Drix Fatemaker pick 7. He gets another one pick 10. And so I was just thinking, like, all right, what do I think is the actual optimal path here? Because I think no matter where you start,
you end up
green mediums.
Yes,
I mean,
you
I
have
don't know
to end up green white.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you have to end up white. And I guess you do have to end up white because I think the optimal path, let's say it's Banishing Light. Let's say we don't want to fight for Diadrin. We think it's Banishing Light 1, Virus Beetle 2, Banishing Light 3, whatever 4. It could be Comet Crawler, could be Auxiliary Boosters. But so then if you're white card, black card, white card, black card, and then pick 5, you see no black or blue. You see this clump of 3 green cards. You see Zookeeper Mechan. I still think I would take Lash Whip Predator out of this pack. Maybe if I'm 2 black cards, 2 white cards, I take Zookeeper Mechan because I don't want to get into green for these cards.
That's the world. Like, I think after passing Diadrin, if you pass Diadrin and you're faced with this choice, I think the tiebreaker is Zookeeper Mechan because I don't want to be green-white exactly after passing Diadrin to my left.
Then it's really hard to get into green.
Then it's hard to get into green. I agree. And you probably end up red-white.
In a bad deck, you end up red-white.
It really doesn't go well for you if you do that. Yeah. Okay. The draft actually works out better for you
if you take Diadrin. Okay, because it gives you outs to go the Predator route. Yeah.
Sure. But I think the optimal route, given that Shuhei picked Diadrin, is Diadrin, spec on Beetle, take Banishing Light, take boosters, take one of the 3 green cards, probably Lash Whip Predator, take Thawbringer, take Fatemaker, take Crasher, take Broodguard Elite, Fatemaker, that clutch main deck, Seam Rip.
Shores up the early game.
Hell yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Why was I smoking while I shored up my early game?
I don't know. I was workshopping it. Maybe it won't make it to post. It's not a great, like, there's not much past that, except that he just opens poorly also. Like, he solidifies himself into green-white mediums. Doesn't really get, I don't know how you get paid off, but it's not a great draft for those color pair. They're that color pair, rather.
I agree. But that just felt like the packs breaking poorly for him more than like a draft disaster, a draft error or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Pack 2, pick 1. Personally, I would have taken Survey Mechan over Blooming Stinger here. There's a choice there, a Blooming Stinger or Survey Mechan. Although you do need early game, you probably just have to suck it up and take Blooming Stinger at that point.
But also, I mean, I guess Blooming Stinger is better, but like, there is a Dockworker drone. And you
with the +1/+1 counter theme, yeah.
I mean, I guess, yeah. In my mind, you've got him, but he actually does. He has double Drix Fatemaker. He has Dual Sun Technique. Like, he's got Diadrin. Don't you just take Drone?
I agree. I remember thinking he was going to take Drone here, and then he took the Stinger. Yeah, this is the type of pick I was talking about, where there were +1/+1 counter options that he just didn't move in on with the Diadrin.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I kind of like Dockworker Drone over Blooming Stinger.
Oh, how offended are you about pick 4?
That's what I want to dive into. Pack 2, pick 4. There are options of a Shattered Wings Rescue Skiff, which is the white vehicle that can bring something back from the graveyard.
Spacecraft.
Yeah, and Terra Symbiosis hanging out in the pack here. Terra Symbiosis would have been so good in this deck. If you had gone hard after the +1/+1 counters theme, if you on the wheel, if you take Broodguard Elite, if you take that Dockworker Drone, pack 2, pick 1, if If you take another, well, you got to take Melt Strider's Resolve Pack 2, pick 2. But Terra Symbiosis would get there in this deck. It absolutely would.
Yeah, he definitely has the options, and I have cast a dual. I've played Dual Sun Technique in a green white counters deck, and it's good. I mean, when it's Doomblade draw a card, it's real good, and green white can make it that.
The other pick I want to dive in on Pack 2 is Pack 2 pick 6, where he takes a Gene Pollinator over Dockworker Drone. And this one also feels wrong to me too. This feels like data says Gene Pollinator is good, but your deck wants Dockworker Drone. Your deck wants the +1/+1 counter stuff. You're not splashing here. We have no cards we're interested in splashing. I really like Dockworker Drone over Gene Pollinator, Pack 2 pick 6.
Yeah, the case to defend the Pollinator is that it's good with the Drix Fate Makers, and that you can go like 1-drop into Warp Fate Maker, dump the counter on Pollinator. Also, later on in the curve, like Pollinator can utilize the warped creatures for mana to double spell, etc. I don't think this pick is that crazy. Like, I think Pollinator would be good in this deck. Even Sans splashing.
But our best card at this point is still Diadrin Synthesis Amalgam, which we've done next to no work to try to make good.
So why start now?
Sure. And then there are a couple picks like that in Pack 3 as well. I don't know. You always end up green white, I think, if you start with Diadrin. But Pack 3 goes really weird. So Pack 3, I think the packs just break poorly to where there's not much green in them or something. Because Pack 3 pick 1, you open just a really poor pack. Although I would like taking Radiant Strike over Hemosimic Mike, just as a piece of interaction. The Might is not good, and we have done no +1/+1 counter picking to try to make the Might good.
But also, can I sell you on Secluded Starforge, which is the rare land? Like, he's 2 colors. This land is very good. This is the land that makes 2/2 robots for 5 mana.
It's fine. That rarely is the deciding factor in a game. Has it before for me? Yes. I would rather have a removal spell.
Has Hemosimic Might been a
No,
deciding factor for you?
No, I would like the land ahead of Hemosimic Might, but I would like Radiant Strike the most.
Yeah, because I guess what is his removal? He's got a Melt Strider's Resolve. He's got an All Fate Stalker. That's it. Oh, sorry, and Seam Rip. Format All-Star Seam Rip. No, he's got Banishing Light too. His removal is good so far. He doesn't need Radiant Strike. Radiant Strike's still good though.
Yeah, but all of the green that flowed in Pack 1 is just not here in Pack 3 at all. So he gets an Exosuit Savior out of a weak pack, pick 2, gets a Rayblade Trooper, which is a breath of fresh air, pick 3, an Emergency Eject, pick 4. That's kind of a disaster with Invasive Maneuvers and Cobb Landseeker still in the pick.
Yeah.
Pick 5 has to take a Germinating Worm over an Orbital Plunge. Pick 6 takes a Command Bridge over a Hemosimic Might and a Zookeeper Mechan. Pick 7, Starfighter Pilot. Pick 8, pick 8 on, there's just literally no green and white cards. He's just hating cards the rest of Pack 3. Like, Pack 3 was absolutely brutal to Shuhei, and I don't know how you're supposed to avoid Pack 3 being brutal.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in the world where in the version of the draft where you feel terrible in Pack 1 because you
feel great in Pack 3, right? If you go, yeah.
If you do the thing we were talking about where you go like white card, black card, white card, black card, Zookeeper Mechan, then the rest of Pack 1 you feel sick to your stomach. But then it sounds like
you Pack 2 might also go better for you if you make those picks.
Yeah.
Like, you might get hooked up in red in Pack 2 as well. Like, there's such a butterfly effect, it's hard to say there, but
right.
So I was very curious about like if there was something he could have done to avoid getting wrecked in green in pick 3. And you could see, like, they used to do this around the table thing on coverage where they would show you what all of the decks were, which was awesome. And they don't do that segment anymore, which I really miss. But Shuhei played, or the people who were on either side of him were on coverage. So the person Shuhei was passing to ended up in a big red-green deck, splashing white off of Triple Sammy's Curiosity and that Galactic Wayfarer he shipped in Pack 1, pick 4, 3, or whatever it was. I guess it would have been pick 4 for his neighbor. In a good-looking red-green-white deck, and Shuhei lost to that person. And then the person who was passing to Shuhei was black-white.
Oh, wow, okay.
So theoretically, green should have been open-ish in pack 3, and there just was nothing there.
Yeah. Or maybe the person 2 downstream from Shuhei
But
was in
no
green.
matter what you do, I think it's very hard to not end up sharing colors with your neighbors in some respects.
Yes. Yeah. That's fair. Some good sleuthing there. Yeah, and Shuhei also unfortunately went 1-2, which is a bummer to get to see the featured drafters not crush, and certainly a bummer for Shuhei to go 8-0 into 1-2, but that's Magic sometimes.
That is Magic sometimes.
I do want to shout out, should have said this when we were doing Ken's draft. I'll put a link to this in the show notes if folks had not checked this out, but round 2 of day 1, Ken Yukuhiro versus Jean-Emmanuel Duprat was just one of the most incredible limited games I've ever seen. It's like it ends like 6 different times. Like when you're like, well, certainly the game's over, and then it's like, okay, and then there's this top deck that changes the course of things, and then this other top deck, and it's a really, really interesting game. So would recommend checking that out. And like I said, I'll link that if folks did not catch it on coverage.
Yeah, all right. We should also shout out J-Maz, who 2-1 his draft, and
that's right,
and barely lost in the finals. Our friend who is competing on the PT and guested on Lords Unlimited, for those of you who listen to that there. So
yeah,
congrats, Jared, on crushing the draft portion.
Yeah, he ended up with 3 Codecracker Hounds in his deck.
His deck was very good. It was a very tight blue-white deck.
Yeah, look, I sent it to you. You were like, I'd be very happy with that at the Pro Tour. Like,
sign me up 10 out of 10 times. Yeah.
Yeah. Was a good looking deck for sure. All right. This is probably the last time we will touch on Edge of Eternities, but who knows? Like we said, I think next week we know what we're going to be doing, but for the weeks after, prior to when Avatar comes out, I think it's slightly up in the air what we're going to be talking about. So let us know what you'd like us to touch on here, or we'll be left to our own devices and we'll figure something out too.
Yes, absolutely. All right, great place to wrap us up. Thank you, as always, to Salty Pretzels for our intro and outro music. Make sure you give it a listen.
You can find all of our content at lordsoflimited.com. There's links to our episode backlog, our YouTube channel, our Twitch streams, respectively, our merch, courtesy of TeePublic, and our Patreon page if you want to check out those reward tiers. Any or all of that is available at lordsoflimited.com.
If you've got any feedback about the show or any questions, shoot us an email at lordsoflimited@gmail.com.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week for another episode of Lords of Limited.
Thanks, everybody. See you later. Mr. Ethan. Oh, dang it. Hang on. No. I just, the cadence is getting messed up. Time on. I'm rusty. I had a week off. Hello, everyone. Actually, what happened was I forgot the name of the card. That's what happened. I had the card picked out and I couldn't remember what it was called. If you want to know what happened in my head, I choked.
And bringing on the line is Ethan, the one in a green.
That's what was happening. That's exactly what was happening in my brain. And I was like panicking. Ooh, all right, I gotta calm down.
The giant growth variant.
Stop it.